In the last week's episode, we analyzed the Nimzo-Indian defense, and we did then see what would happen after White's fourth move, bishop to g5.
For some time we have analyzed the Nimzo-Indian, so for this episode I thought it would be time to leave this opening for now and instead continue with the Queen's Indian defense, an opening which bears great resemblance to the Nimzo-Indian.
The variation is introduced after White's d4, followed by knight to f6, c4, and e6. In the Nimzo-Indian, White would play knight to c3 in this position, but in the Queen's Indian, White plays knight to f3 instead. Alfred, what difference does this make?
Well, since White won't play knight to c3, Black's bishop to b4 won't fulfill the same purpose. To still play bishop to b4 is of course possible, but White should now only block the check by playing bishop to d2. This means that Black won't be able to use his bishop as an extra piece attacking the e4 square by pinning the knight, which acts as a defender in the Nimzo-Indian.
So instead of playing bishop to b4 check, Black might try to play b6 instead, building up the position. This variation was long considered to be a drawish line, but that changed after Kasparov introduced new and interesting ideas in the 1980s.
Since then, this variation has been played by a lot of different grandmasters, and the theory has gone through a rapid development. And the once timid variation does now require one to be quite familiar with it in order to play against it successfully.
White can mainly choose between three different continuations from this position: g3, a3, and knight to c3. Also, e3 is possible, but it isn't especially popular. g3 tops the list of the most popular fourth moves.
And it puts White's king's bishop on g2, fighting Black along the h1 to a8 diagonal. A diagonal which was given Black in the majority of the lines in the Nimzo-Indian. It might seem natural to play bishop to b7 in this position, and it is a good option for Black, but there are more variations to choose from. If Black wants to play a more aggressive line, bishop to a6 is a possible continuation. Since White has played g3, the plan to protect the pawn on c4 using the bishop on f1 isn't recommended.
White instead should protect the c4 pawn by playing b3. This is the most popular line, but of course not the only playable one. Other than protecting the pawn, using the b-pawn, White can also play knight b to d2. This has never been a especially popular line, but it is quite interesting.
After White's b3, Black plays bishop to b4 check, forcing White to block the check by using his bishop, and this is followed by bishop to e7. This might seem strange. Why check on b4 if the plan was to place the bishop on e7 all along?
Well, Black does this in order to misplace the White bishop, simply from hindering it from placing itself on b2, and now follows bishop to g2 and c6. Black has as good as giving up the idea of placing the bishop on b7, and instead Black blocks White from taking control over the diagonal by putting his pawn in the way.
c6 is only the beginning. Black wants to continue by playing d5, locking the diagonal completely, and White can't do much to stop him. Another perk with d5 is that it also attacks the weak point in the White defense, the c4 pawn. Because of this, White plays bishop to c3, opening up for knight b to d2, enabling the knight to protect the c4 pawn.
After d5, the position has become very interesting, and White can mainly choose between knight b to d2 and knight to e5. Black has some weak points in his position, but so has White, making it so that both sides has equal chances in a very interesting position. But we will end this week's episode of the Opening School now. Next week we'll be back and continue analyzing the Queen's Indian, so see you then.